Hey everybody. So with the trade deadline 1 month away in the NHL, in this video I want to look at the top 5 rental players available at the trade deadline this year who will likely get moved to new teams. So first, before we get into the video, I would just like to remind everyone to please hit that like button down below. That really helps out a lot. And if you are new to the channel, to please subscribe and follow along for all my hockey content. Both of those things really do help the channel a lot and are greatly, greatly appreciated. So by rental player, I am talking about players who are unrestricted free agents at the end of this season. So you will not see Josh Manson on this list. You will not see Jason Zucker on this list. These are guys that have term left on their contract. So if they are traded, they're not necessarily rentals. They're under contract for beyond this year. This list is strictly rental players who will get traded to a new team, finish this year with that team, hopefully go on a playoff run. That's why you add guys at the deadline with that team and then become unrestricted free agents at the end of this season. They could potentially re-sign a deal with these teams, but as of right now, they are UFAs for the summer of 2020 and are just perceivably rentals at this point. So I just want to make that clear that I'm only talking about rental players who are UFAs at the end of this season. Now, normally with this list, you would go 5-1 and there would be a big reveal about who number 1 is. But there's no point in doing it that way with this list because I think we all know who number 1 is. I think we know who the top 3 are. I think there's a very clear top 3 on the rental market right now. And then after that, it's kind of everybody else. So we might as well just start with number 1, and it's Chris Kreider. Chris Kreider is the most sought-after rental player on the market at the deadline this year. He's probably the best player on the trade market at the deadline this year, just as far as what he brings to a team. He's played 48 games with the Rangers this season. He's got 17 goals, 15 assists, and for 32 points. Kreider is a really, really solid second-line scorer. He's somebody who I think most teams buying at the deadline would love to have on their team, would love to add at the trade deadline. A lot of teams are looking for scoring, especially secondary scoring this season. I think a major issue with a lot of the playoff teams is secondary scoring. So they're going to be looking to fix that heading into the postseason. Kreider is the top guy on the list for that. He's a perennial 20 goal scorer for the most part. Second line guy who can add a lot of offense. And he's a big body and not afraid to play physically either, which really does help in the postseason when the intensity, physicality, and everything really ramps up. So Kreider, in my mind, is clearly number 1 on the trade market as far as rentals go this year. Number 2 is J.G. Pageau. And J.G. Pageau this year with the Ottawa Senators is having a fantastic season on what's overall a pretty bad team. Through 46 games played, he's got 19 goals, 12 assists for 31 points. Really, really good goal-scoring year this year for Pageau. And similar to Chris Kreider, Pageau is a middle-of-the-lineup type of guy. He's not going to come in and be your first-line player, but he can play second or third line and really add some secondary scoring for a lot of teams. Now, the difference with Pageau and Kreider is J.G. Pageau is a center, and I think that makes him more valuable to certain teams who could certainly use help down the middle versus other teams who I think are more looking for a winger. Some teams would take either. I think the New York Islanders jump to mind as taking either. They just need forward help in general. But a team like Pittsburgh, I think, is more looking for a guy like Pageau to come in and be a center, whereas a team like the Bruins, I think, are more looking for a winger like Kreider or possibly the next guy I'm going to talk about on this list to come in and provide scoring that way. But Pageau, in my mind, is best suited as a third-line center. He's a really gritty player, high-energy player, obviously can score as well with 19 goals this year. He's going to add some secondary scoring to whatever team he gets traded to. And I think, he's going to certainly be one of the most sought-after players at the deadline this year. To me, Pittsburgh stands out as a high-end candidate to get J.G. Pageau. I just think with all the injuries this year, with Nick Bjugstad being out, that third-line center role, they need to fill it. And I think Pageau is probably the top target for that. So another team, Edmonton, I think could be in on Pageau as well. As Edmonton, they've got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl scoring boatloads of points, but after that, the secondary scoring is certainly lacking. I think adding Pageau to that Edmonton team would certainly be a huge help for them. Number 3 is kind of, I think, somebody who I don't want to say Chris Kreider light, but I think the teams that miss out on Chris Kreider are going to be the same teams that are going after this player, and it's Tyler Toffoli of the LA Kings. Similar to Kreider, he's a winger, he's a scorer, he's a secondary scorer, not a top-line type player, but somebody who can come in and play second or third line, middle of the lineup, and add some secondary scoring to a team. He's got, through 49 games with the Kings this year, he's got 12 goals, 15 assists for 27 points. Again, I think all the teams that are in on Chris Kreider are in on Tyler Toffoli if they miss out on Chris Kreider. And he's going to be another similar type guy who teams are looking to add for secondary scoring heading into the postseason. So those to me are the clear big 3. Those are your big 3 targets at the deadline that teams are heavily going after this season. 4 and 5 are, I think, a little more up for grabs. At number 4, I am going with Wayne Simmons of the New Jersey Devils. Obviously, the Devils traded their big trade target already with Taylor Hall and going to Arizona. That's not a deadline deal. Wayne Simmons, I think, is going to be a target for a team looking to add depth and looking to add veteran leadership heading into the playoffs. 48 games played, only 5 goals this year for Simmons with New Jersey, 14 assists for 19 points. The offense has gone away from Wayne Simmons. We know that. It's been on the decline for a few years now. We know he doesn't bring a whole lot offensively, and the goal scoring is certainly not there anymore. However, Wayne Simmons can still be a very, very valuable player in a third or fourth line role as somebody who can chip in offensively. It's not like he's going to score 0 goals. He can still chip in here and there offensively. But he brings a lot of physicality, a lot of toughness, a willingness to stand up for his teammates and himself, and a lot of veteran leadership. He's been around the league now for a long time. He's been a leader for a long time. He's played a lot of playoff games with the Philadelphia Flyers. I think a team looking to add that kind of depth player will be going after a guy like Wayne Simmons at the trade deadline this year. And the top team, I said this in my video yesterday, the top team for me that jumps out as a Wayne Simmons, a good spot for Wayne Simmons is the Colorado Avalanche. They have the cap space to do it. He's on a 1-year deal, so it's not a money issue. His contract's done at the end of the year. Colorado is a very young team who's really on the rise and looking to make a deep, deep run into the playoffs this year. But they are led by young players like Nathan MacKinnon and Gabe Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen and Cale Makar. These are players who are all in their mid-20s or younger. I think Colorado could really use that veteran guy who's been through the playoffs a number of times, who has won a lot of games at the NHL level, and somebody who can come in, play quality minutes in a bottom 6 role, and just come in, chip in when they can, but be that physical leader, be that locker room leader. And I think Wayne Simmons really fits the role of that very, very well. So I have Wayne Simmons at number 4. And number 5, I'm going to go with a defenseman here. I am going with Brendan Dillon of the San Jose Sharks as my number 5 rental. 50 games this year, 1 goal, 10 assists for 11 points. But Brendan Dillon is not an offensive defenseman. He is a defensive guy, stay at home, good, really, really solid bottom pair defenseman. Played a lot of playoff games with the San Jose Sharks. He's been on a lot of good teams there in San Jose, and if you're looking to add a defenseman at the deadline, looking to add a depth guy, Brendan Dillon to me is the top choice. Somebody who is going to come in, play quality bottom pair minutes, play night in and night out, bring physicality, bring the toughness that you need in the postseason. You know, he's not a huge offensive producer, but he's got 11 points this year. He'll chip in assists here and there, but he's mostly known for his defensive zone play, you know, really solid defensive guy. And I just think, you know, any team heading into the postseason that's looking to add defensive depth, Brendan Dillon to me is the top guy. The defense market this year, there's no Ryan McDonoughs out there on the trade market. There's no top-end guys. It's all pretty much depth guys. I think if you're looking to go in an offensive direction, Mike Green and Michael Del Zotto come to mind as guys, you know, that you could be looking to add at the deadline. If you're looking to go a defensive direction, I think Brendan Dillon and Mark Borowiecki are the two on the market that way. For me, overall, I think the best overall player on the defense market that's a rental this year is Brendan Dillon, and I think he would make a great addition to any team's defense core. Again, he's not a superstar guy. He's not a top-end player. He's not going to play in your top four, but as a bottom-paired, solid depth defensive guy, I don't think there's really any better than Brendan Dillon. So those are my top 5 rental players, pending UFAs, who are likely to get traded at the deadline this year. And that can really help out some of these teams that are buying, heading into the postseason, looking to improve their team. So 1, Chris Kreider, I think clearly number 1. 2, J.G. Pageau. 3, Tyler Toffoli. 4, Wayne Simmons. And 5, Brendan Dillon. With that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.